Hello, 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 everyone.
Real
I
Red.
haha.
We are here. We are back. We are live.
Yeah, I think it's just me and you right now.
Yeah, it's just me and you right now. But I will let
Oh, there's
10.
somebody. Somebody has joined us. Hello, somebody.
Hello. Welcome.
My little eyeball says there's one person.
Correct. The only place we can't see where people are Twitch and D Live.
Oh, okay, cool.
We don't
So
get to
now we
see
have
who's
two.
over
I have
there.
two
Like,
somebodies.
they can comment, but we won't be able to see them on the little eyeball.
Right,
This
right.
only counts Facebook and YouTube.
Cool,
Right.
cool.
So welcome everybody. Welcome back to Journey into Freedom.
Yes.
It's been a while.
I'm hoping everybody's good and people have been
Everybody's
great.
been good. Hopefully the whole crew will show up tonight because the last few nights the crew's been showing up, our peoples, all of our peoples. And everybody's been good.
Lord, this big mouth freaking wolf is going to start her nonsense the minute I go on air. Are you
Hey
serious?
Russ, you better act right. Quit.
This girl be ratchet as hell. I'm going to beat the snot right out of her nose. I am.
Betty's
She
out of control.
got a snotty nose. I'm going to make one. Like,
Betty, why you gotta ruin the show? Don't ruin the show, Betty.
oh, she ruins everything. It's like her job.
That's true. That is true.
Like, you asleep, sound asleep, 3 a.m. Betty's going to bark till you wake up and scream at her at the top of your lungs so that you're louder than her neighbor next door is like, okay, the dog was bad, but you're worse. And you're like, well, I didn't want to get out of bed to go get the stupid dog. I'm sorry. She can let herself in and out, though. Okay, so I would like to clarify that. It's not like she's just outside by herself. She can let herself in and let herself out. She just be letting herself out and be barking and barking and barking at 3 a.m. What's she barking at? I don't know. Anybody's guess.
I mean, you never know, but
If I don't even think she knew. I really don't. I don't.
she probably
She,
doesn't know. Honestly, she's just probably living her best dog life, being annoying. Hello, Pam. Nice to see you.
oh, look, we're up to 5 somebody's. Hi.
Yeah, I told you everybody will come back. The whole crew's here, I'm sure. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Red took a little bit of a break, and so now we're back. And
Right.
of course, Red wants to come back in the middle of my life falling apart, but I'm here. It's fine.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's no better time.
Apparently not.
To be honest, it's more, do we have time?
True.
I'm really starting to begin to wonder day to day, every day, like tomorrow just might not be there.
Yeah, with the way things are going, to be honest, it is that time. And I was just thinking that a couple weeks ago myself. I'm like, you know what? It's time to return back to air because things are getting really bad. And this is the time that we're needed the most.
See, yeah, exactly.
So I'm with you. I'm with you because I made the same decision myself. But it's just funny how we made it within like 2 weeks of each other. Because I'm just like, you know what? Too many things are happening.
Right. And it really isn't like the best time for me to come back either, really.
No, it's
Just
not.
like, okay.
No, it's not. That's why I just give Fred a hard time. But because, I came back myself, but I'll have to start clarity again. But it's just been wild. It's just been wild. And maybe we'll start that next week. We'll see.
Oh, everything's been wilding, man.
I know. It's just been insane, you guys. Like, I can't even explain the crap I've been through. It would take
So,
5 shows.
hello, Lee.
Welcome, Lee.
Welcome to my house. Play the music too loud. Oh, wait, too soon? Sorry.
Right. I mean, basically.
So we have a lot of deep topics for tonight. And well, we're gonna spill out some truth. And everybody's got to bear with Red, okay? Because Red's still not, I have not progressed any further than I was before. I'm still on the phone. The phone still screws up. It still does its own gig.
But you got a brand new phone, though. To be fair, this is crazy because Red has almost the top of the line phone. I have one step above Red, but yet Red's phone still can't do what we need to do. Like, come on, Red's phone. Red got the new 20, Samsung Galaxy 20.
No.
Is that what you got? The Note?
Yeah, it's the Note 20, the Samsung Galaxy Note 20.
Yeah, that's like one of the newest ones. I do believe they have a Note 21, but that's here nor there. It's the top of the line, y'all.
Yeah.
Still can't do what you want.
No.
Ridiculous. Now, I can say that I've been very happy with my Ultra 21 because I can like cast my phone to the TV, which is really helpful right now. So then I don't have to use any extra Wi-Fi. I do like that. Right. There's a few features that I really do like on this thing. Like the camera's really good. There's some really good, points on it.
Well, before we get into too deep of topics.
Yeah, let's do a little catch up and let's do our
first thing I wanted to
set update and all that good stuff, fun stuff.
Because this is bothering me specifically this evening, okay?
Oh, okay, right.
So the first thing we're going to talk about, and I'm going to warn everybody about, is, okay, I've got this new thing for pita bread.
Yeah.
Okay. I'd be loving me up on some pita bread.
Right. It'd be dope to get one of them little clay ovens, that you can like cook outside with, because you can make your pita bread in there.
Right. Okay. So I get the Sam's Choice. Okay.
Okay.
It says white Greek style pita. Right.
Right.
I buy this, bring it home, cut it, do it in half, thinking I'm going to stuff the halves, right?
Right.
How's come there's no pockets?
No, it's just flatbread. Hello, Lamb is the Light. This channel, okay, so welcome to the Freedom Revolution Network. This show is called Journey into Freedom. We talk about many different topics. Tonight we're going to get into Nuremberg Code a little bit later, and the Tuskegee experiment, and just kind of everything. This is one of Red's returning shows, so we've been on air for 5 years, and Red hasn't been on for a while, so we're kind of just refreshing back. So welcome, and thank you for joining.
So, yeah.
No pockets? But why? Pita bread, it's a flatbread then.
Yeah, but it says pita.
I mean, I guess pita doesn't have to have a pocket, but I've never bought pita that doesn't have
a pocket.
I mean, a flatbread. That's why I said it's a flatbread, because it can't be a pita.
Okay, do you know what this is? If you fried this, if you put it in like a little thingy and you fried it, it would be a chalupa.
Oh yeah, it'd be like, okay, yeah.
Okay, if you took it and still folded it like that and didn't, it would be like gyro bread.
Okay, yep.
But this isn't pita.
Right.
Like, not in my world. I mean, I guess. What?
Is it extra thick then? Since there's no pocket?
No, it's not really extra thick or anything. It looked fluffy and nice and delightful, and I brought it home and I cut it in half, and there's no pockets. I'm baffled.
I'm with you, because I feel like that's a flatbread. That's what it is. But I just feel like a pita has a pocket. Now, I have had unpocketed pita though, but usually it's labeled that way. If that makes sense, it'll be like pita no pocket.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Flatbread. This says white Greek style pita.
Did you make your tuna salad then tonight?
I did. Oh, I sent you pictures.
Did you?
I did. It was delicious.
Was it on Messenger?
No, I sent it on your
text?
Text, yes. Text.
I'll check it out. I'll check it out. So
That was my delightful dinner.
interesting.
I mean,
I mean, I got to. We went out to eat tonight, so I didn't make anything tonight. But I think tomorrow is going to be tacos.
okay. So, I've been buying and getting a lot of canned meat, and that shredded beef, drain it and freaking fry it up and add your seasoning, and man, it makes really good tacos.
Have you got the one from Dollar General yet?
What?
The roast beef? Have you
From
tried
Dollar?
that one?
Yes.
I saw it tonight in the can.
Our Dollar General also has a pot roast.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, that pot roast is freaking delicious.
Is it? Yeah, because I was thinking that would be good for like open face sandwiches, even.
Oh man, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because we've been thinking about canned meat, you guys, lately, because we're hearing about grocery store shortages. We're seeing shortages in our local stores, especially stores like Dollar General, and these rural stores are seeming to like have shelves empty first.
Restaurants even.
Yeah, and I mean shipments are weeks behind. People are saying, especially at the ports of entry, there's food in containers that have been rotting for the last 6 months.
Okay, here's something crazy, okay? And I'm trying to wrap my brain around it. So, there's legalities about restaurants, right? Right. Like, we all know, like, they can only order from particular places and get their food delivered.
Right, like food service places and things like that.
Right. Okay, there's actual laws about this, right? Okay. So, our local restaurants up here have not been able to serve fried chicken. Of all things, fried chicken. Why? Because they keep ordering it, but it doesn't come on the food truck.
Ain't no chicken. Ain't no chicken nowhere. Ain't no chicken wings. Ain't no chicken. That's what everybody's saying, though. They keep saying there's like a chicken and chicken wing shortage, though, G. Like, that's no BS.
Oh, not here. Not where we are. We have chicken galore. It's all over the place. But
no, they've been having a lot of chicken.
Up.
Most of the restaurants have been saying they've been having a hard time. And a lot of the restaurants I know have had to up the price of wings, too. A lot of places are adding like $1 or $2 to every order.
Yeah, like the price of meat, period.
Yeah, and that is true.
Is just going outrageous. I mean, the price of all groceries is going outrageous.
That is, inflation is going up exponentially.
Now, my mom says through our family members and such that we know, truck drivers, they're refusing to drive gas prices and diesel prices.
Oh yeah, it's like $3 plus a gallon now. It's like $3.30 for diesel here.
Cold, but they're basically on a strike.
Oh, I've heard this now. I have heard rumors about different trucking strikes.
Yeah, it's not being advertised. We're not seeing it, but everyone we know, even who is a truck driver, is like, no, I'm not hauling dick.
I don't blame them if they're not making money, though, because what you're going to take your run and pay it all in fuel? You know what I mean? Like, is it worth a run then? If you can't even get paid. And now that inflation is going up on everything, even them just to live on the road is more expensive for food, more expensive for gas, more expensive for hotels, more expensive for this and that, unless they have a sleeper cab. I mean, that's the part that's going to bite us all in the ass, is the inflation. Because they can keep things on the shelves, but if things keep getting more and more expensive, who can afford it?
Right.
Who can afford it? Even just, local meat prices, are going exponentially through the roof. Meat that you usually could get for like, even ground beef. Ground beef is like $4 or $5 a pound for regular ground beef, not even like grass fed or anything. Where grass fed used to be like $6 a pound, and now it's 8 or 9.
No, that's absolutely truth. And like here in the more rural area, like I said, like our local like restaurant can't get chicken in to make fried chicken, but like Walmart has it. All of our grocery stores around here have it, but they can't walk in the grocery store and buy it and fry it and sell it. It's against the law. So
Right.
they have to get it to come in on the truck, and they're not getting it. They're not getting it on the trucks. The trucks aren't able to get the chicken, and the truck drivers that are delivering right now are telling our restaurants that the reason they can't get the chicken, are you ready?
Right.
It's held
Which is
in
crazy.
customs.
That's what I mean. It's all at the border. It's all
Why?
at the both port of calls,
Why
sitting there just
is
rotting.
chicken being held at the border?
That's what why are we shipping in chicken? Better
Yeah,
question.
yeah.
Like, for what? We got enough chicken here. Why is we getting Chinese chicken back to us? We don't need that.
Because apparently it's a thing that our meat is getting sent out and being processed over there and sent back to us.
I know. This is what I've heard.
But now it's getting stuck in customs. Well, it's not going to be any good by the time customs lets it go.
Nope. And that's what everybody's been saying. Like, they've been releasing these trucks, and then the trucks have all this food on, or the cargo containers, I should say. And then they release these cargo containers, and then everything's bad inside, and then they got to order it again and go through the whole bullshit again.
Yes,
We
ma'am.
are living in the Twilight Zone. I agree. It's like nutsy cuckoo upside down land.
It
Okay.
is so crazy.
It's beyond anyone's, imagination at this point. Like, everything we thought could happen. Red and I sat here for 5 years sounding like heretics, saying the New World Order's coming. It's coming, y'all. They're going to come, and they're going to just knock us down, and we're not even going to expect it, and it's going to come out of nowhere. And everybody's like, oh, Red and Scarlet, y'all are crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. Quit being a conspiracy theorist. Okay. Now look where we are now. Okay. We tried
I
to
mean,
warn people.
I'm not saying that we were right, but I'm not saying we were wrong.
Yeah, I'm definitely I'm going to go there and say we were right. Okay. Um, I'm going there because we put out this exact scenario in 2015 with the measles outbreak. We put out this exact scenario that they would do this and call people public health threats and then start coming after them. Because once in 2019, when the anti-vaxxer was named the #1 public health threat by the WHO, we knew
Oh, we were
before
talking.
coronavirus even came.
Yeah, we were talking then. Watch, they're going to start requiring things for vaccination. It's going to be like the stars all over again. Do you have your gold star?
Yeah, exactly. You got your papers? Papers, please.
Papers, please.
Papers, please. Okay. And it's true. It's true, Lamb. They do think we're stupid, those rural dummies. My governor was like, outside of the Twin Cities up north is just all rocks and cows. Okay. He was like, it's just all rocks and cows. So in Minnesota, we've created a group called Rocks and Cows. And it's a group that's against the governor and against this crap. And we have t-shirts and billboards and all these things because we embraced it, because we're like, oh, we're just rocks and cows, huh? But then he called us in greater Minnesota a cancer on society. Okay. So we've been really against that. So we have had kind of like a us versus them mentality with us rural people. And I used to be a city person, okay, but I'm a rural person now, and I was always a rural person at heart. But now being out here, it is us versus them, because there is a lot of us out here. It's not just, yeah, there is a lot of rocks and cows out here. That is true. But there also are people and families and businesses and people, things that matter. I'm tired of these big cities, even for Colorado's sake. They act like everybody's in Denver or Pueblo or along that I-25 people corridor, and everybody else in the state just fuck them. And that's not the right attitude to have. If we're a state and we're supposed to be all together as citizens, the city people should not be getting all these special perks, and then us rural people are left out to dry, yet all us rural people provide all the city people things.
Okay? It's true.
It is true, isn't it? Because it's like, we're not against the city people. We provide the city people with half the crap they have. Especially a lot of the food for farming and all that, building, all that. You know, there isn't a lumber mill in the middle of towns anymore and things. You know what I mean? Like,
we have many people now that don't even understand the basic concept of where our food comes from. Like I've heard people say things like, you know, what do we need farmers for? Just go to the grocery store and buy your meat. Well, where do you think it comes from, genius?
right. They just think it like appears there somehow. They don't
Yeah,
realize like
it's
what
like if
actually goes
you
into
copy
slaughter.
it or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they think it comes out of a machine. I don't know what they're thinking because it's just like until you realize even just a crop, a simple crop like corn or tomatoes or anything, there's a lot of work that goes into that before you get the benefit of the other side. And I
Right.
don't think people realize that. You know, you go to the store, you pick up an apple. Well, have you ever tried to grow apples from a goddamn tree? Because it's not that easy.
All right.
It's not just like, oh, I'm gonna buy me an apple tree and I'm gonna have apples by the end of the year. Like, no. So it's like people just don't realize even what we consider a simple fruit, like an apple or shit, even a banana. Bananas were genetically modified to create this Cavendish banana that we have now. Them bananas aren't even like local to the world. Like we selectively bred those, and they're at special plantations all over the world. And now they got some fungus that's about to kill off all the bananas. Then we don't have no bananas no more. Do you know how much we went through to get bananas?
Right.
Okay, people, I don't even think like how much work actually just goes into one crop, like even like a wine grape or a table grape, or that's months of watering, months of feeding, months of pruning, months of all these things. Like, and people just act like, oh, I can go to the store and just buy it. Well, it's not that simple. It probably took 6 months or a year to get to your table,
Right.
depending on what it is, especially like a cow. Cows are not butchering till after a year or so old. You know, you got to have time to get weight on it.
Right. When we want beef, it's a little over a year actually. But when we want veal, it's under a year.
Under 6 months. Yeah, veal's under 6 months because they're lighter. And preferably within the first 2 or 3 months, you take veal.
Yep.
So that's how that works. But that's different though, because that's baby cow specialty. You know what I mean? But as far as like your standard beef cattle, it's 1 to 2 years old at slaughter.
I think it's hilarious that a lot of these people want to make up laws about stuff like, you know,
Oh,
we
what was that
just,
bill in Colorado? What was that bill in Colorado called?
oh, it was a crazy bill. It did not pass. It
No,
did.
it didn't. But it was called something like 30 or something. Wasn't it called like Prop 30 or?
Yes, Proposition 30. It started off as something else. They changed the name to try to disguise
It
it
was
from
like 14 or something at first, and then they changed it to something else. It was this
um,
wild anti-farming bill, in my opinion.
oh yeah, totally was. And
It was like you can't kill animals unless they're like 3/4 of the way through their lifespan or something, like how long
yes,
they usually actually live.
yes. And
So it
it's
was
like,
like, for goats and shit, what goats live like 15 years old or something like that.
yeah. So they would have to be at least like 4 to 5 before you could even kill them or
And then
butcher
by
them.
4 and 5, you don't want that meat, y'all. You don't want that. Mm-mm. You don't
No.
want to eat no tough old goat. That's why they say tough old goat. Yeah, no, it's not just about their demeanor. No, the meat is tough when it's old. That's just the way it is. Their muscle structure breaks down as they get older, but those muscles are used more as they get older. So you gotta, you
You
gotta
know,
think about it that way.
it was a pause act, is what they called it before.
Cause Act, yep, that's what it was. But then they changed it to something else to make it seem like it was a whole new bill, but it was the same
Yeah,
bill.
yeah, and it
And then
was
they just added more bullshit to it.
yeah, it was lunatical.
It really was because they were like, you couldn't milk your animals.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't be able to touch your animal. Okay, the reason that you wouldn't be able to, okay, so it didn't specifically say these things, but it's the loose wording in which the everything is stated. So what it said was that you can be brought up on charges for animal abuse and sexual contact.
Yep.
If you are caught doing anything
Interfering in any way with the animal.
Right, interfering with any sexual organ without the permission
of the animal.
Of the animal.
Right, which we all can't get permission from the animals, so
So that means if I'm out there milking, somebody could decide that I haven't gotten the permission of my goat to touch her teats to milk her. So I'm going to go to jail. It's also things like you weren't allowed to interfere with any type of breeding. So no artificial insemination, which would have deleted a lot of breeds here, and a lot of the beef cattle.
Right.
Because a lot of cows are done artificial insemination, whether people believe that or not.
Real life, not. Nope. The whole farm that I worked on was all AI. There was no bull. So, I mean, you got to AI your animals. I mean, honestly, for the animal, it's safer because there's no risk of them carrying a baby before you want them to.
And there was no protection for veterinarians either. Veterinarians
would
be guilty. And vets in our state were even like, listen, if you pass this, we're even going to be afraid to spay or neuter an animal.
Right. Of which that everybody claims that that's what you want to do. But if these doctors aren't supposed to touch any sexual organs, why would they do a spay or neuter? That's like a hysterectomy, or you know what I mean? So, right. Or a vasectomy for a man. So it's like they can't
no interference. So like, again, if a goat is giving birth, which, happens quite often on my farm, and needs assistance and needs me to help pull, if I do that, they can put me in jail.
Right, which would put mom and baby in danger, which I think is shit. Don't put mom and baby in danger. Like, you can't even intervene if she can't do it on her own. Then you lose both of them. And how fair is that?
Right. Yeah. I
don't think that's very fair when we have the technology as human beings to help them.
Right.
That seems more cruel than them trying to claim that doing these things are cruel to the animals to begin with. What if an animal had something going on rectally, or for a female animal something vaginally? You know what I mean? And now a doctor can't even examine in the vagina or rectum.
Right.
For the animal, and now the animal just has to die. Well, what the hell did they go to school for?
Well, again, if we couldn't do artificial insemination, the idea of C-section, because it specifically stated no.
Because we go into the uterus. Yep, we're going to the uterus. So again, can't help there.
To come and do a cesarean, because that is considered a human interference in the birthing process.
Correct. And so a lot of things would just be taken off the table, of which it was wild. And like, you couldn't like call a chicken before like 3/4 of its lifespan was up, and
no animal. So that's everything. So these people, what I was about to say when I started this whole thing was, people are funny because here you are fighting this, but yet one of the things that you're eating the most out of is things like caviar and things like veal and things like lamb. Do you really know how old those animals are when we butcher them out? Because believe me, honey, they're not 1/4 of their lifespan.
3/4 of their lifespan gone. Yeah, like what? Like I said, that's gonna be some tough ass meat. That's gonna be a tough ass cow, tough ass goat. Okay, whatever you want to pick. Okay, whatever animal we're gonna put there.
You ain't never lied, lamb. You ain't never lied, right there. And you know what? I say it all the time. Everybody wants to be worried about this kind of stuff and put energy into this and getting rid of our farmers, but yet
you ain't never lied. Yes. That's what I mean. Nobody wants to stand up for the kids that are in CPS care that are being trafficked. Nobody wants to stand up for the kids that are being trafficked every day. Nobody wants to stand up for the abused children who now have been closed in their homes with people now for over 1.5 years. So if they are being abused, it's probably 10 times worse since the pandemic started. People want to sit and talk and ride on their high goddamn horse. But then when everybody brought it up in the last election, they just laughed and said, oh, there's no elite pedophile rings. There's no elite sex trafficking. What the hell Jeffrey Epstein is? What the fuck was he then? Y'all want to sit here and bullshit, acting like he didn't have the black book of black books with the Rolodex that had everybody and their mom in it, but yet shit
Right.
like that don't happen. What?
Yeah. No, you right. You right. All the way across the board. Like, mm, you Karens want to be worried about shit that ain't none of your business, and you're worried about shit that ain't none of your business, and you ignore the shit that should be your business. I don't get it.
I don't get it. I don't get it. I had heard a story the other night that a guy said that, his kid was upset and a guy had come up and confronted him and was like, is this your child? Is everything okay? And if more people would take 2 seconds to be worried like that in public, kids might not get trafficked as much. Kids might not get sexually abused as much. Kids might not, you know what I mean? If somebody was just trying to be alert and aware, and instead of picking on people for how they act or what they're buying at the store, if they would pay attention to people's actions more, we could maybe stop some of this. But people choose not to. They're too worried about the bullshit and want to be all up in everybody's business for the wrong reasons, but the right reasons are already here. You would think that the society would want to protect its children instead of trying to raise all these broken ass people. Okay.
Yeah,
Because we're just going to have generations of broken ass people. And then what does that leave us? What do we get out of that?
we don't
Broken
know.
ass society.
No,
Okay.
that's the answer. We don't know. We don't know where they are. Why? Because they go missing and they're probably out of this country in less than 2 hours of the time frame of which they go missing.
Right. Because, some of these people probably got private planes, all types of stuff, and then they just traffic them or put them on a plane with them, just disappear. And then what about all these unaccompanied minors? If that many are coming across the border from the south, they're also coming in on planes and everywhere else too.
You, again, not lying.
I'm just saying. But see, nobody cares about these kids. See,
No, we
they're
don't.
just trash and throwaway, you know? And then especially once they turn an adult, no one gives a shit then either.
Right, right.
If they grow up and age out of the system or what they're in, then they just keep going with it. So it's like, you know what? We need to focus on that first. And then worry about other shit before we're worried about fake ass pandemics and vaccines. Okay.
The fear of 2020. And everybody was like, oh, 2021, yay. Like everything from 2020 was magically going to just like disappear just because it was another year. And I'm like, guys, don't get too excited. 2021 is still 2020, just old enough to drink now. So we're even more fucked because the bad decisions have gotten worse.
That's true though. And we're a little over halfway through with the year, right? But remember, we didn't have that old dark winter that crazy ass Biden was talking about, okay? Okay,
Nope.
because we changed the PCR testing in January, so that started the year off with different numbers. Okay. All right. And now here we are. So I think, and I've been hearing about lockdowns coming soon again, and we'll have to see what happens with that. They're going to try to push large mandates. I've heard a rumor that we are getting FDA approval over Labor Day weekend, which that's less than 3 weeks away. And once they do that, then a lot more places will feel comfortable to then mandate.
Has anyone else heard the rumor or the thing going around about August 13th and Trump?
Yeah, let's ask if anybody out there has heard this, because we have not heard this, but like somebody that we would have least expected was like, have you heard of this? Right.
And we do mean like least expected ever.
True that. A normie person who normally wouldn't talk about that type of
stuff. Beyond normie.
That's true. But a very ultra normie, you know what I mean? So, but was like, hey, have you heard of this?
Yep.
Like, I heard.
Lamb, that is part of the CDC door-to-door shit. And we're going to start talking about this because you brought it up now. So now we've opened this can of frickin' worms and shit's about to go real, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, bro.
Because this is some crazy shit. All right. So let's go. Okay. So let's talk about, first of all, we said I was coming on here tonight. We were talking about the Nuremberg Code. Okay. So
Correct.
first let's cover the fact that Nuremberg Code is actually 4 laws. Okay. 4 laws are, I'm sorry, 10 laws. I don't know why I said 4 because I was looking at the number 4. So it came out as 4.
Right.
Okay.
That
So
happens sometimes. It happens.
it's 4 law or it's 10 laws that create the code. Okay.
Correct. Right.
So we're going to go through these 10 laws one by freaking one. Okay.
And a lot of people have been setting up nationwide. Oh, I'd like to see those
Now,
pictures.
Scarlett.
You can send them to me as station manager at freedomrevolutionnetwork.com. I'd like to see those pictures. And Get post them on Facebook on the Freedom Revolution Network page. Because people are setting up nationwide protests for this too. So I'll get back to you guys with the date. I believe it's like the 12th is like the nationwide walkout date that a lot of people across the country are going with and going to be doing protests at their local health facilities. But continue to.
Scarlett, I set this up pretty jiggy for you,
Okay.
and the listeners. So if you go to Journey into Freedom's Facebook page, and you can find 1 through 10 listed and pretty much what we're going to talk about. And there's an article with every one. So if you want to skip ahead of me, we're going to start at 1, and you can pull that article up, and you can pull out what you want to talk about in that article.
Let's see if I can do that.
Because you could reread the article a little bit.
Well, as long as everybody can still hear me, then I'm good. Because sometimes it doesn't let you. But okay, I'm gonna go Journey into Freedom.
You got to kind of bounce back and forth.
Yeah, right now it's letting me do it. So until I lose you, it'll be we'll make it. All right.
So we're going to start with number 1 here, okay? And that's
I see what you did. Okay, you did each one as an individual post.
Yes, and I put an article.
Oh, okay. Yeah, good shit.
Necessarily go directly.
Right, but we're gonna go. Right.
It's an article again on Nuremberg Code, so that people can see, hey, we're not making this stuff up.
Right.
Okay, because a lot of people still believe this is a made up fictional thing.
No, but this really happened. These trials were set up after World War II, after the capture of the Nazis, because
Correct.
the world decided that.
Oh, there we go. We lost you finally. So you got to bump back over here.
Yep, redress of grievance.
There we go.
Oh, that is a station manager at freedomrevolutionnetwork.com.
So the first law, okay, and we're going to break these laws down as we go through them. So bear with me. So the voluntary consent of the human subject is absolutely essential. Now, essential means impossible to do without. That is the Webster's. Oh, crap. You just did that. That is the Webster's definition of essential, impossible to do without. And I want to make sure that we're all on the same language, okay? Because consent, you have to have my consent. I have not consented. I'm saying that on air, live, publicly.
Right. I do not consent. My children do not consent. I do not consent for them.
My family does not consent. We do not consent. Okay. That's the first part.
And I posted the link to the post in the chat.
Okay, good, because I gotta scroll back down because it took it away from me. It's tricky tonight. Now, the next part of still number 1 is that this means that the person involved should have legal capacity to give consent. Now let's talk about that for a minute. Legal capacity to give consent. Do you know that leaves out anybody that has been deemed unable to make decisions for themselves, even anybody under the age of 18 that cannot enter into a legal contract?
Right. So that X's out all kids, a lot of older folks
Right. Anybody in nursing homes that has given over their power of attorney, any of
Yep,
that, they're not able to make these decisions anymore for themselves.
correct.
Okay. So that is the next part. And that's very important. That's a very important part of this forced vaccination thing. You can't be forcing things on people that aren't old enough to make the decision.
Right.
Okay. Next part of number one, they should be so situated as to be able to exercise free power of choice.
Which we don't have right now. How many people are probably thinking, I have to get this vaccine to work? I have to get it to go now in New York City, it's to go to gyms. You know, if somebody really loves music, yeah, if somebody really loves music and music is their whole life, I have to go do this to see a concert. I have to go do this to participate in going to maybe a museum or somewhere. You know, just like it affects their whole life. How can you say no when jobs are depending on it now? Like literally, in some places, everything is dependent on it. Like your
Yeah.
survival is dependent on it. So how is that having free choice?
Right. And that is a big and we don't, like you said, we do not have free choice right now. Um
No,
it's and
it's an
that's
illusion of choice, but they're making that choice disappear. You know, I'm just saying.
all right. Now, the next part, and again, I just want to bring up that freedom of choice thing because everybody's like, where do you get the freedom of choice? Well, I don't know why you think we have freedom of choice because we do. It's in the Nuremberg trial
Oh,
code.
well, and we have to remember why we got this, okay?
Right.
Now, this is one of my specialty topics in life, okay? There was a time in Scarlett's life where all Scarlett researched was the Holocaust and only the Holocaust, okay? And I think it was a good thing for me because now, see, look where I am, you know. But also because I understand the level and type of experiments that they put on everyone. If they even found out something medically anomalous that was interesting about you, they wanted to test it. And it wasn't just children. You know, they like to emphasize that it was a lot of kids, and that is true, especially like at Auschwitz, Dr. Mengele, his specialty was children. And he liked twins, and he liked, certain elements of people. But it wasn't just Dr. Mengele doing these experiments. Places like sanitariums and mental institutions, those type of places also experimented on the mentally handicapped, the feeble, all of these things, the physically disabled. And they did egregious things. And even to healthy people in the camps, they tested certain things on. They would have them test certain medicines. They would put them on the gas chamber and try new forms of Zyklon B, of which Zyklon B was eventually turned into what we know now as chemotherapy. Okay, because we brought over them Pfizer scientists from Germany. Okay, Pfizer scientists from Nazi Germany in Operation Paperclip, which we have covered in the past. Okay, and then they brought them over here, and they've been here ever since. Oh, and who created the Pfizer BioNTech vaccine? Oh, and where did they come from? Paperclip. And what happened before that? Nuremberg. Okay, so and that's the reason why is because these drug companies, these doctors, all were testing things on the
Well,
general population of Germany.
this is where we are about to get super interesting in number one, right? Okay.
Right.
Because now, remember where we are, where we're saying we have to have free power of choice without the intervention of any element of force, fraud, deceit, duress, overreaching, or other ulterior form of constraint or coercion. Let's say
Boom.
louder for the ones in the back.
Right.
Okay? You cannot force, fraud, deceit, duress, overreach, have ulterior form of constraint or coercion to make me do these things. You cannot do it. It's illegal.
Right. And what was the point of agreeing on these codes back then to do the trial if we weren't ever going to uphold them to the greater standard? I thought that was the point of the Nuremberg trial, was to say
Correct.
this is the new standard of what we as the world accept. Okay, that we decided for the first time as a world stage. You know, we had never worked together as a world before, so now we were like, the world says no.
Right.
Why wouldn't we keep that standard? This makes absolutely no sense that we would not even just uphold that.
Right. Right. Okay. Now, we're still in only number one. Okay, so keeping going here, and I also want to add that I do believe New York is going to have a lot of explaining to do. The New York mayor has a lot of explaining to do, to get out of this, because he should be one of the first MFers brought up on trial.
Right, De Blasio and Cuomo. De Blasio and Cuomo. No, both of them, De Blasio and Cuomo, because Bill De Blasio is the mayor of New York City, and then Cuomo is the governor. They both need to go in their own New York State Nuremberg trial, because this is crazy. All of these people need to be tried for crimes against humanity, and I don't care what anyone says.
Fauci as well.
Yep, him too.
And as you said, what did you just say? As crimes against humanity? I also want to throw in medical tyranny, because that is what this is, ladies and gentlemen.
This is, though, because we don't get another choice. We don't get another option. You know, that's why we had read that article with Tim, you guys, if you listen to the original Red Pill show, when me, Dwayne, and Tim all came back, and it talked about the vaccinated green zones and how they were going to try to create those. Well, we don't even get that. I wish they would be like, oh, here's your anti-vax state. Oh, cool. Good to know. Because I've already told everybody here, like, if it comes down to it, I'm gone. Like, if they start trying to pass laws and mandates here and stuff, like, no, we gone. Like, we're going to wherever's free.
Right.
And, like, I've already told my mom, unfortunately, I'm like, Mom, look, you know how I feel about this, and if they do it, I'm gone. We cannot stay here. You know I cannot.
Right.
And she was like, I understand. So, you know, and I hope she does, because if that day comes, I am gone. Like, I cannot risk my life and my family's life over this. This is something that should be chosen. Since when do we not get to choose a medical procedure? And not only don't get to choose a medical procedure, but get to choose one that the manufacturer has no liability.
Still in number one, it says that we have to have be able to make him an understanding and enlightened decision. So we have to have the knowledge to be able to make an understand and enlightened decision.
And they are not enlightening us. Okay, they want to lie about the trials. Okay, somebody tried to argue with me the other day, because I was like, okay, but they didn't even do animal studies. And they're like, yes, they did do animal studies. And I pulled it up on Google, just on straight Google. And Google said that they did simultaneous animal and human trial at the same time. Now, what kind of standard of care is that? Let's go to the scientific method. Right, let's go to the scientific method, right? And you're supposed to follow, you know, a strict set of plans and of controls, so that way you can get to the right answer. Since when have we done simultaneous animal and human studies? Since when is that an appropriate entry-level study for something like an investigational vaccine?
I do believe that is number 2 in the laws of the Nuremberg Code that we're going to cover tonight, actually, about the animal and human trials. So what you just said, going human and animal side by side, totally illegal according to the Nuremberg Code.
Well, and we know this, but I'm just saying, who allowed this? Who said this was okay? Because aren't we supposed to be following the science? Okay, and if we're supposed to be following the science, then we need to be actually doing it the appropriate way, where we do animal study first. But see, this is like unlike it. They knew that this was coming. Okay, they knew that this was coming, and I'll tell you why they knew this was coming. They knew this was coming because they knew when they put this out that they could be able to just shut it down and not say anything else about it and be like, look, here's the deal. And everybody just believes that. No one questions it. No one has no questions. Everybody just accepts as is. But how could you have already known and then not do the animal study? That's the
Right.
whole thing, because they know it takes 10 years to make a vaccine usually. And this is why I know it's all bullshit, because usually it takes 10 years to get an approval.
Right. So now it says that the latter element requires that before the acceptance, right, Scarlett, of an affirmative decision by the experimental subject being us, ladies and gentlemen, because we have not done animal trials on this vaccine.
Well, yeah, this was a human code. This was for human ethical study out of.
Known to each one of us the nature, duration, and purpose of the experiment. Now, I don't know about you, Scarlett, but I ain't been told any of this.
Nope, we haven't been told how long we have to deal with this, and we haven't been told when it's going to be approved. We have not been told when the clinical trials end, the real world trials.
Right.
But we know it ends in 2023.
We have not been informed.
We have been informed, but the general public has not, because we know the study ends in 2023. Okay, we know that. But everybody else does not know that. And they should have been coming out with this information. Why not just tell everybody? Why not just tell everybody?
Because then we have to admit that we're the experiment.
Yeah, but at the same time, too, this is an unknown disease, so it has to be an experiment at some point. Okay, just the nature of coronavirus, how it popped up out. They did the same thing for the swine flu, and they created that vaccine in 81 days.
Yeah.
So all I'm trying to say is that we've done this before, at least one other time, two other times in history.
We've had with that swine flu vaccine.
Yeah, there was a lot of problems, and I took that, actually. I was like the first person in line for it, bro. For real. That was when I was pro-vaccine.
I believe that is the exact vaccine responsible for my son.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I was pregnant during that time. So, yeah, he would have been little. And they mixed it in with the flu vaccine.
Yep.
After the first year. Now, the first few months they had it, it was two separate vials.
Right.
And then eventually they got it inside the other one. But then that's where influenza A came from. And if people remember our previous research with influenza A, we found out that the swine flu actually came, that they dug out of the ground in Alaska and created the antigen from that, and then created a vaccine just in case it would come back, we'd be protected. And then it ended up causing a motherfucking outbreak.
We are also supposed to know the method and means by which the experiment is to be conducted, G.
Right.
Again, we haven't been notified of any of that. Okay.
Right.
We also are supposed to know the effects upon our health or person, which may possibly come from the participation in the experiment. Now, they can't tell us that because they themselves don't even know that.
Nope, they don't know nothing.
So they know giving us information on something that they don't even know.
Well, they do know to some degree because they know about the pathogenic priming. They know about what happened in previous coronavirus vaccines that they tried to create. You know, I just wish they would admit, just tell people the risk. I don't understand why that is such a big deal. If this is all experimental and we know nothing about this virus and we know nothing about anything and it's so deadly and it's terrible and it's killing and ravaging everybody, okay, yeah, okay, why can't they just tell people, look, we don't know what's going to happen, okay, we don't know what's going to happen. What we do know is we have a good idea that this is how this works. Right. And we believe that these things are going to happen if we give you the vaccine. And there's also other things that could happen that we're not expecting, but we don't know. But your best chance is to take this because we don't know. There's too many don't knows and there's enough we know that this will help you. Okay. Right. If they did more of that, okay, and actually leveled with us, and we're like, you know what, some things we just don't know. We don't know if there's going to be any long-term consequences. We do not know if there's going to be problems that we see years down the line. We just don't know. But what we do know now is if you want this to stop, this is the best way we think how. And they're not doing that. They're just basically, they just came out of left field and were like, this is the only way to treat it. This is the only thing. Why haven't we spent time on any drugs or treatments or anything else? Everybody just acts like the vaccine is the gold standard. But at the same time, they say, well, it doesn't stop transmission. it doesn't stop infection. Okay, well then why aren't we working on other treatments then?
Take the
We know
vaccine.
it's more transmissible. Why haven't we tried to figure out a prophylactic you could take beforehand?
We're gonna come door to door and make you take the vaccine, but you still have to wear the mask. You can still contract the disease, and you still have to social distance. And nothing is really going to change for you except we're going to give you this piece
we're going to control your whole life. Like nothing's really going to change, but we're going to control your whole life. See, and because they do know. See, at this point, the CDC and everybody has talked to all of these groups of people in the background. Okay, CDC knows.
Oh yeah,
they know. They know what's going on. These head people know. They know that the whole program is a scam, and they know it. And they're holding on to this program by the skin of their teeth because it's falling apart right in front of their eyes because of the way that they rolled it out. Like I said, if they actually treated us like adults and they actually told us what was going to happen, and they would admit that they would be not liable for any damages and show people that, yes, there can be really serious damages. But if they tried to play it off like, well, they're kind of rare and this and that, but like know that, some bad things could happen.
Right.
I think more people would be on board. I really do. But I think it's the way that they try to just portray it's safe, it's effective. There's no other alternative. You're going to be fine. Nothing's going to happen to you.
This now falls under number 2 because we're on number 2 now, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, and now because we've had doctors basically be anti-vaccine injury, basically, and act like they don't exist. With this one, a friend's niece, okay, is like my age and got the vaccine, right? She ended up having heart pain and needing to go into the ER, okay? Like, she was really sick, y'all. Like, it was really bad. And she went in. And the first time she went in, they just flubbed her off. They told her she had myocarditis, okay, and flubbed her off and said, you're fine. Just go home. She almost passes out. Like 3 days later, goes back to a different hospital, and they were absolutely appalled. They put her inpatient and told her they don't know how much damage happened in the 2 weeks, I guess it was like 2 weeks in between. And now she has to be on medication and bed rest for 6 months, and they don't know if her heart will ever be repaired, ever.
Wow.
Yep. And because they ignored her, doctors don't believe in vaccine injury. They will not diagnose it. We knew they won't diagnose it in children. And so now in adults, they definitely aren't going to diagnose it. They're going to act like somehow you spontaneously got diseases and random shit happened to you with nothing else. But yet this is the newest thing in your regimen. You see, that's just process of deduction. If you were getting a prescription and these things started happening, they would look at the last prescription you started. Right. They wouldn't look at the first prescription you got. Now, they probably would have already looked to see if your drugs are compatible, but they would look at the last thing you started taking and probably take that thing out. Because they're going to be like, oh, well, the last thing you took probably, instigated this change in your body. But yet with this, if you don't, this just could not be. I wish they'd stop being so ignorant. Just admit it. And then take away the pure liability. Just say, hey, take this. And if you get maimed, we'll help you. Okay? I'd rather them tell people that. I think people would feel better about that.
Well,
I really do. Instead of the lie.
Number 2, okay, which also has another article. The experiment should be such as to yield fruitful results for the good of society.
See?
And it must be unprocurable by other methods or means of study.
See, and they could have done it other ways. They didn't have to do a real world trial with everybody on Earth.
And it also cannot be random and unnecessary in nature.
See, and and how it is random because random people are going to get this study instead of the most vulnerable. Why wouldn't you start out with the most vulnerable and control groups? You know what I mean? Like, that's just my whole thing. They just skipped a whole bunch of steps that are super essential. What is this? What is this? And we're just supposed to tolerate this as the gold standard of science? Right. I am offended. I am offended that they would even consider that is science or the gold standard or the top of the line of bullshit. Bullshit. Let's pull out some of those old studies that you guys did on coronavirus vaccines. Let's pull that out. Let's pull out the one from January where y'all were still trying in December of 2019 to get the coronavirus cells into human cells.
Right.
Y'all haven't even made that happen yet. Then all of a sudden, magically, in less than 60 days, you were able to.
Sorry to hear you were in the ER.
Yeah, like, you know, that's why they already knew. They already had this recipe, bro. You can't
Right.
just come up with no recipe out your ass in 2 months, but yet somehow you didn't know how to even get the coronavirus to like go into a human cell 1 month previous.
You right.
Bullshit.
Now, number 3, because that was all at 2. 2 was pretty short. Okay. Number 3 is that the experiment should be so designed and based on the results of animal experimentation. Now we're going to stop there.
Look,
it has to be done on animals first, but how do we do that when we, right, Scarlett, we have said, oh, we can't test on animals. That's cruel.
Yeah, not only that, they tested it simultaneously on humans and animals at the same time, so that shit broke Nuremberg Code right there because they say animals first, and they did us and animals at the same time. How you gonna do us at the same time?
Yep.
Like, that's the problem. People don't even realize this. I think if half the people in the world realize that they didn't even test on animals and they basically just stuck it in us first, they're going to be appalled that they've been guinea pigs. See, and the more people who have a family member who's going to be maimed by this vaccine, you know, it's so sad because it's a whole genocide, bro. It's a whole genocide, which we already been watching our kids be killed and all our friends' kids and all these activist kids. And you know what I mean? We've been watching all these deaths. Otherwise, for childhood ones, now we have to watch adults die. This is terrible. It's like a whole genocide. It's awful. And here we are being treated like pariahs, okay? But here they are not even doing shit right and following even just scientific practice and moral ethics. Like, what? Like, we can't even follow ethical code anymore?
And
like, that just don't exist?
When we get deeper into 3, it says that we are also supposed to have knowledge of the natural history of the disease. Now, again, we can't give that. We don't know it.
No. And what happened to it being from a pangolin? What happened from it being from a bat? What happened to it being from the wet market? What happened to all of that?
Right.
Yeah, because they don't have no damn origin. Because you know what? Shit came out of a lab. Just like SARS did. Okay?
Right.
Like, that's the whole point. Like, this is a mutated version of SARS and MERS, and then they've been trying to pop this type of virus off for a while.
Right. And then when we dig deeper into 3, it says that we're also supposed to be told of any other problem under studies that the anticipated results will justify the performance of the experiment. Justify the performance of the experiment. I think we need some explaining. Because I don't think that it's justified. I don't think that this experiment is justified because, again, we've talked about it before, right, Scarlett? Like, we were in such fear last year. Why? Because the footage that we were being shown from China, from Wuhan, is not what we're experiencing here.
Right. That's what I mean. Like, it changed. That's why they go and they say, oh, well, you know, these people didn't want to wear masks and stuff because we said so. No, it had nothing to do with that. You know what it had to do with? That when the virus got here, by the time the virus got here, like, actually got its hold in the United States. Now, remember, you guys, if you were following us at that time, which a lot of you who are here tonight were, by then, we had been talking about it for 2.5 months.
Right.
By the time March, April rolled around of last year, we had already been deep into this. Like, it was every day. We had an everyday broadcast. We have hundreds of videos from that time because we sat every day.
I mean, there were videos of people literally sitting in hotel lobbies reading papers that just randomly stood up, went into like full body seizures, fell down on the floor,
and
started
fell out. Yeah, fell out all over the country. And I mean, like, neurological shaking, seizures, like really scary shit that we were like, if this ends up coming here, that's why we told everybody, get ready, get ready for airlocks in your homes. Because if it was as serious as they said it was, we
Right.
would
And
have
it
needed
was
to do
serious.
those things. We would have literally needed to do those things. If it was that dangerous, we would have needed to airlock our homes. We would have needed to sanitize groceries and all these other things that they were saying. Because if it really was, you would need to.
Right. Right.
That's real talk. But we realized as it got here, by the time it was here, which we knew already from literature in China, that it had already, by the end of January, mutated like 25 times. And that was in January of 2020. So I can only imagine by now, like they try to claim these variants, but I don't think they exist in that way, because how do you say that when the virus had already shifted 28 times in China? So, but the version that finally got here wouldn't have been the same.
Correct.
That's
And
just by design.
Lamb, you're absolutely right. We were saying way back when this started that we knew of many, 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 even in my own personal life, I know of 2 people, one extremely close to me that I have very personal information on, and another one pretty close to me that I have pretty decent information from one of their closest relatives, that they did not die of COVID, but yet that is what is on their death certificates.
Even on my dad's, there's COVID.
Right.
There's COVID-19 viral pneumonia. Now, there isn't COVID-19 disease on it.
Right.
So I thought that
It
was
is so that
interesting
they could
too.
make money
And
off
it's
of
a
it.
secondary cause after a bunch of other causes.
And also,
So,
Leanne, if you took notice, which Scarlett and I have pointed out several times over the last year, there was like nothing else. Suddenly, there were no flu deaths, there were no pneumonia
nobody was catching
deaths,
a cold.
no diabetes deaths. Like nobody died from anything except COVID last year. Like apparently,
Right, right. Like, shit just didn't exist, but, they would have people, you couldn't even get a flu test.
right,
You couldn't even get a test. They weren't, and furthermore, the CDC wasn't calculating
right,
any of the numbers last year. They decided that they weren't going to do that.
right.
So where does that leave the flu? Like, for them to even try, if they try to give a flu outlook, I'm just going to laugh. Because y'all bitches said you didn't even take numbers for it. So how you going to have a flu outlook?
Exactly, exactly.
That's all I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to like point fingers,
No,
but
no.
at the same time, how do you call something that you didn't have data for? Or do you have data for it? Better question.
Well, we are the data. So,
Right. But did they take data last year of the flu cases and we just all didn't know about it?
I don't think they took data except for anything
They said
except.
they didn't take data, but did they take data? That's all I was saying. Did they take data or did they?
I feel it.
Yes, there is a way, Lamb. You can go to cdc.gov or just type in Google or DuckDuckGo or wherever you use your search engine. Type in CDC flu death numbers. And historically in the United States, there used to be like maybe 50.
I love that you want to go research this, Lamb, and bring information back to like
Yeah,
that thing. I really like that. I really, really dig that
we
you
appreciate that.
are doing that. That's awesome.
Yeah, because if everybody did this, we'd be a lot better off. Like Red and I have always said, don't just take what we say as the truth or the gospel. Go research what we're saying.
And
Come and
sometimes we
fact
mess
check
up
us.
too, like
We've
we got.
always been open to fact checking now. Now, bullshit fact checking, we do not appreciate. But real fact checking, and you can come with something else or maybe a different point of view or perspective. Okay. But other than that, you can go to cdc.gov, type in, or type in the search engine flu death, 2019, which was the last year that because we studied this a lot because we've always been advocates for no vaccines. Okay, that's just the way we've always been. That's the way I've always been since Red's met me. Like, I've been this way for 9 years. I don't think anything's changing anytime soon. I
Right.
know too much. I wanted to be a pharmacist. I wanted to be a doctor and a nurse when I was a little girl, but as I got older, I wanted to be a pharmacist. So I understand the medical field. I wanted to be in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been told multiple times I could be a doctor by other doctors
Right.
because I know my shit. And I come from a place of knowledge, not from a place of just I make things up. Because it's right there in the literature. And once you understand, especially me as wanting to be a pharmacist, once you start reading the inserts and you start understanding what um, these different sections are and mean, it's a whole new perspective. It's
Right.
not the same. You can't look at drugs even the same,
Yeah.
because when you read like a drug insert, you're like, oh, all these side effects. Oh shit. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? You think differently about it, and why is it that if you go to Walgreens and your doctor gives you a prescription, right, you'll get one of those, but you won't with the vaccine.
Well, I want to go back to the thing in one about coercion, right?
Right.
Like you can't be coerced. I feel like, and correct me if anybody thinks differently, but in the state of Colorado where I am, they have done $1 million draw for vaccinated people. I feel that that's coercion.
Yeah, my state said they wouldn't do that because it is coercion. In even my state, and my
I
state be
feel
liberal as hell. You know
and
how they
they're
run
doing it for
here.
5 people.
Well, my state's liberal as hell, and even my health department was like, we can't do that. Now they did come out with this little $100 vaccine incentive, but they were like, we're not going to make it to where it's a level of coercion because we feel like the $1 million, $10,000 prizes are coercion, and it puts people in a desperate position to want to do this for that, and we don't feel that it's fair. And so I did respect them for that. That's the only time this whole time I was like, okay, I'll respect you for that. Because they legit were like, we're not doing that. So these other states can do that. We're not doing that. And so I respect them for that. But think about it. Think about how many poor people, think about how many gambling addicts, think about how many people were like, yeah, I'll do it for that.
Right?
And how
That
many people
alone
got
makes me
nothing?
angry.
How
You
many
ain't
people got
never
nothing?
lied, man. You ain't never lied. Like, I don't need to justify my reason for not taking this shot, but you damn sure need to justify your reason for forcing it on me.
Or coercing people or giving them all these benefits or all these doodads or you know what I mean? Like in Ohio, they paid for people's college. How many students signed up for that
Also,
knowing that they couldn't afford it?
also in one, is going to cover the New York stuff where they're wanting the papers. And the fact I would like to point out too that freaking New York passes this thing where you got to have freaking, these papers, vaccine papers to say that you've been vaccinated if you want to like participate in things like eating out in a restaurant, going to the gym, being in public places, going to concerts, if you want to be pretty much an active member of society.
If all they would do is just say, if you take this and you get hurt, we'll pay all your expenses. You could probably get me out there to get people to take it. But the fact that we can't do that is the problem. We can't say, yo, single mom, if you take this and you become maimed, don't worry because the government will pay for all your bills and take care of you for the rest of your life. We can't do that for people, and that's the problem. Why, if I take a drug, I could sue the drug manufacturer for known side effects and known things that end up happening, right? And
Right.
I can get paid for the rest of my life. They have to pay me my wage equivalent, all that shit, pay all my medical bills for the rest of my life, everything. But we cannot. Why are biologic vaccines the only thing we can't do that with? Any other biologic, any other medical device, any other drug is covered. Why is
Right.
this the only class? If they removed that protection, number one, I think you'd get a lot more people taking them. Because if you do get hurt, somebody's going to take care of you. You can go out and get fancy treatments to get your body back right and shit. Now, some people will still die, but at least their families could be compensated. You lose the sole breadwinner of your family, okay, we'll give him the wages of the rest of his life that he would have worked naturally till he would have pulled retirement. and then we'll give you the, some proportion of retirement or whatever. Something. But we're just leaving people high and dry. So
Well,
if they do end up with damages, there's nothing they can do. And how is that fair? How is that humane? How is that ethical?
here we go, right here. Number 4 in the laws of the Nuremberg Code. The experiment should be so conducted as to avoid all unnecessary physical and mental suffering and injury.
Right. Right.
That is the whole of number 4. There is no more in number 4. They felt it important that is a whole law.
And how many people went to go get them at like military armories and like really scary drive-through places and like just not like a good atmosphere for them.
Right?
But yet they're so worried about germs, but yet they out in a dirty parking lot with a white tin over it.
I've thought about. Oh
like,
yeah.
what the hell? They've been giving kids vaccines in their car.
Was when they first started doing these tests, they were like going all the way up into your brain, and it's like, okay, but if this is so freaking contagious, why you got to go up so far to find it? I don't understand.
Well,
like,
and I guess there's a lawyer out there named Gary Lambda who says that he's working on cases for people because they have to, like, by law, accommodate you for a spit test.
right.
Because, like, when my mom took the test, there was no brain swab. It was spit in this thing, like a giant amount of saliva, and then that's it.
Oh, wow. No.
Yeah.
I even went with a friend of mine and she did the test. We went to Walgreens. Okay. She wasn't allowed to
They
go
got that
in.
new blood one now that they do. Remember when I told everybody that I could order them test strips from China, and I had that chick on WhatsApp who was gonna sell them for like $1.25 a test? This is
Now,
the same test that Abbott came out with and patented. But
I
the
went
reagent, I believe you get a little bottle of reagent and then the little lancet, and then you put it on there and then you pour the reagent and then you watch the result. But I don't know if they've streamlined that. But yeah, I was able to get that technology back in February of 2020. So it's like we've had it.
She went to Walgreens. She wasn't allowed to go in. She had to go to the drive-up window. They pushed paperwork through the thing that she had to like put gloves on and sign.
Right.
And then she sent that back, and then they sent her this little thing, and they're like, okay, now open it and take it and push it up and push it up and now roll it around. Now take it out. Now put it in the tube. Now put the tube gently on the thing. Like, it was still a whole nose swabby thing.
Oh yeah, no, they've had the spit test, and that was December when my mom and dad took the test.
Yeah, that was very
I
recent.
think my dad took one at the hospital, to be fair. My mom took one at the spit test afterwards because he took one at the hospital when he was admitted. So to be fair.
Yeah, that was within the last month. So.
Yeah, no, dude, why don't they have the little spit test? They had the spit test here, like I said, last December. But we were one of those test pilot fucking states, too.
They be acting like they ain't got crap here, dude.
Man, Colorado need to quit. Well, what Jared Polis doing with all this federal COVID dollars then? Where are all the federal COVID dollars going? Because you could order a test from the state on a website where they would send you a test in the mail. That's how, and then you just sent it back. Or they had these little spit test facilities. Again, if you're worried about a deadly goddamn pandemic, why you got everybody at card tables in an old Office Max building?
Right.
Spitting in a fucking tube. If it's an airborne virus.
Okay, you don't worry about infection and stuff, but you make her stay outside at a drive-through pull-up window.
You know what I'm saying? But this is what, no, dude, the place they said my mom was like an old Office Max, and everybody had to sit at this, these old ass card tables that, the finish was coming off the top, and you all got to spit in a tube. What? Makes no sense. Why wouldn't we have biohazard bins and have, airtight cubicles that had like proper air return. You could have
Okay.
made a whole bunch of little like storage, uh, like
You know me and my
shipping
love
containers or something. You know.
of movies. So why are we not seeing some like ET type tent
Spaceship stuff.
stuff?
Yeah, why we got like a hyperbaric chamber with like pure ass oxygen or something that's got like UV lights and fucking. You know what I mean? Why aren't we? If it's
Or
why?
some like outbreak action?
Yeah, like what? Okay, like this makes no sense. Like at first they had everybody segregated and we're only going to use special places for it. Then they wanted to throw everybody in the damn nursing home and then they killed all the old people. And then,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Like, what happened to separating everybody? That was a good idea.
Mm-mm.
Like, at first, I mean, they could have turned special, certain, like, they ended up opening a COVID hospital, though, and nobody ended up ever going. So that's the whole point. I don't know why they didn't just try to, like, keep these patients in certain areas of the hospital and just turn areas of the hospital into, like, these lockdown
Right.
fortresses with UV lights and change the airwork and ducting and shit. You know, like, hold up. They just made no sense this whole time. That's the problem. They've made no sense. Yeah, I mean, doctors and hospitals can try, I guess, to not serve people, but it's trash. It's
Now,
trash. We're
number
gonna have
five
that
is a
can
little
happen though.
okay because five,
Doctors already try to do it now. You know what I mean? Especially to unvaccinated children. So
right, and
they
five
try
is
to, and now especially to get a transplant or anything like that, you have to be vaccinated.
right.
They won't let you not be.
You're right. They won't.
You know, they won't. You'll just have to die. So
Right.
like even because I was watching. There was this kid that popped up on Facebook, and I was going back through his story, and the kid caught measles and chickenpox because the child was unvaccinated due to his heart issues, and then they made him get the vaccine to get the transplant, and then the boy caught the measles and the chickenpox and got hella sick. And they gave the baby aspergillus when they did some type of heart surgery that then allowed mold to grow in the baby's body. So now the baby's like on death's door. It's messed up, dude. It's been like a couple years struggle with this baby, but it was interesting. But yeah, just saying. Some people it's just not good for. We need to admit that too. Okay, we need to admit that there are just some groups of people, even just by choice, and then also by health, that just should not. Autoimmune disorder people, immunocompromised people. These people should not. If vaccines work the way they're supposed to, then the immunity of everybody else should help cover those who can't. That's supposed to be how it works. They need to stop giving this stuff to cancer patients and everything else, upsetting their immune system and inflaming it.
Yes, Pam, you're right. You're right on all levels, except the doctors really don't have to treat
They
the
don't take
patient.
the oath no more. Yeah, no, a Hippocratic oath is not a part of their agreement anymore. They don't have to, actually. You'd think they would, but it's not required anymore. So this is why we've lost that ethical piece of treating people as humans. Right now they're trying to treat the unvaccinated as subhuman,
Right.
and that's not okay. Everybody should have a choice.
Oh, you're a robot. Yeah, you're a whole robot. I don't know why. Yes, Lamb, and we're starting to see more and more of that coming from the doctors. You know, and we have also been seeing a lot of people reporting that their doctors are refusing to see them as patients because they're refusing the vaccination. Like flat out being like, I'm sorry, we can no longer see you here. So it is happening. That they are already doing this medical kind of shutdown thing. Yeah, many are trying to be forced into it. And number 5 of the Nuremberg laws that we're talking about is no experiment should be conducted where there is an priori. Priori meaning derived by or designating the process of reasoning without reference to particular facts or experience. It's a real old school word, so I went ahead and looked that up for you guys. And then reason to believe that death or disabling injury will occur. So if they believe that death or injury can occur from the experiment, they're not allowed to be doing it on us. Yet, here we are. Okay, and then it also says that we have reason to believe that death or disabling injury will occur. And remember too, the Tuskegee experiment, they let those deaths and injury go on for 40 years, ladies and gentlemen. 40 years. And didn't even blink an eye. And it really makes you have to stop and think about one of my main things that I say to people is when the government lets you know or admits that they've done something, it's because there's something far worse that they're trying to keep your attention away from by putting your attention on something that's old that you're more than likely going to just kind of pass over and let go. You know, by the time we found out about it, there really wasn't a lot of outrage. There wasn't really anything really said about it because everybody was just more or less kind of like, oh, well, that was a long time ago. And, you know, why do we have to worry about it, I guess, is kind of everybody's mentality with it. So, no. There's no reason that it should be going like that at all. And then, so the very tail end of it is, except perhaps in those experiments where the experimental physicians also serve as subjects. So if the physician wants to also be subjects, then that's like an acceptance to this particular law. Now, I don't know any of these physicians that are lining up to get their own jabs. We are. And it's not even gullibility as much as it is that you've been trained that this is not, you know, right, let alone law. You've been trained to just bend the knee. You've been trained to just do what you're told. You've been mind controlled for multiple generations, which is going to then pass down through DNA, through your crystal embedments and Reiki energies and Kundalini energies that wrap within your DNA, and crystalline embedments within your your DNA and spinal cords. But when it's been drilled into you so hard that we forget who the government works for. You know, we the people are the boss, not the government. The government is not our boss. We're their boss. They're here to represent we the people. So you don't get to make these decisions about we the people that we the people are not in agreement with, and tricking us to be in these moments, you know, because there's many out there that are like, we are not the experiment. Well, we are the experiment. They are getting the results from the release into us. They're watching us as things are happening to us. We are seeing side effects, and they're like, oh, these are rare and few and far between. We don't really know that yet. You know, if the signs of the fact that we went from 1 jab to 2 jab to now talking about 3 jab isn't enough to let you know that you're the experiment, I don't know what else is. I mean, they're obviously altering it to the results that they're seeing within us. That makes us the experiment, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, the PCR tests are defective. They have been recalled, Pam. You're absolutely correct about that. However, they're still allowed to sell them till I believe it is January or February, which is crazy to me, because how are you going to say that they're defective and they need to be recalled and still allow them to be on the market? It's retarded. And they're still using them. I don't get it. That is full on crazy to me. So I don't know what to say about that one. Honestly. Now, number 6 in the laws of the Nuremberg Code is that the degree of risk to be taken should never exceed that determined by the humanitarian importance of the problem to be solved by the experiment. Now, we really need to let that one sit in. You know, it's funny that you said about that DNA thing, because I saw a thing today that also was trying to convince me. It was an article that I saw that was trying to convince me that I needed to buy this product to tell what my blood type was, because infection rate of COVID was highly dependent on what your blood type is. So when that became known, I'm not sure, because that was kind of news to me. Now, are they just snake oil salesmen trying to sell their product? Probably 100%. But the point is, now this is information that's being floated out there, which is going to come in later with these laws of the Nuremberg trial and misinformation. Okay, so but yes, it is interesting that you would bring it up about looking for certain DNA types, because I've also said, and Scarlett did too, over the last couple of years, that we felt this real big push on the to send in your DNA to these places like ancestry.com and stuff was more like a collection of you know, DNA cells and such, because you know, you're freely willingly sending it to them and allowing them to have it. So you know, we spoke out against it, and how they really pushed it for stuff like Christmas presents for your relatives and things like that, and we're like, you know, have a good night, lamb. I'm glad that you joined us. This will be the rest of this you can catch later at your convenience. It will be on the site. So yeah, it's it's just more than I can even, so it should never outweigh, so the problem to be solved by the experiment. Now, see, I find that particular wording very interesting in what we're talking about right now, simply because the rate of success of the vaccine is only like, I want to say like 96, 97%. And survival rate without the vaccine is like 98, 99%. So it doesn't really do more for you. You can't prove that it is better than natural immunity. In fact, natural immunity is seeming to be better than these vaccinations. But we're not talking about that. But I do feel that that's an important part there with the problem to be solved, needs to be, you gotta weigh it out, the humanitarian part of this. But again, like I said, when we look at the Tuskegee experiment, the 40 years, that was cool. That was okay. We're gonna do that, right? 40 years they let that go, and they let people die, and they let people infect other people, and they let people become severely sick, and they just sat back and they watched it. Really, is Scar even here? Because I don't even see her. Or is it me? I haven't seen Scar in a while. So is it me, Pam? I'm thinking it might be me. So hold on a tick. Oh, I don't know if I can. Yeah, I haven't seen Scar for a minute. So am I the robot? Or is Scar in here and I'm not seeing her? Trying to see if it's clearing up or not. Okay. Yay, nay. Damn, I'm looking at you, kid. What's going on? Because I don't want to continue if I'm all robotic. That won't be cool. And I don't want to be dead air either. So, okay. Yeah, and if I exit, then it ends it. So we're still here. What's going down, guys? Oh, okay, cool. So you can hear me. Awesome. I am not in a robot voice. That's great. Because that's what I was worried about. I didn't want to keep going and be in a robot voice because you know that I'm just wasting my time, your time, everybody's time. And nothing is more annoying than wasting time. So let's move forward. Number 7 of the laws that come up with the Nuremberg Code is proper preparation should be made and adequate facilities provided to protect the experimental subject against even remote possibilities of injury, disability, or death. Now, Scarlett was talking about this exact thing earlier, so I'm very sad that she's not here for this part because this was her law. She really, she was talking about this earlier when she said there should be compensation being offered, like that would make her feel better, even if she still didn't want to do it. It's at least somewhat better, like, hey, if you are injured by this, we will take responsibility. We will pay your medical bills. We will get you right. And so on and so forth. But yeah, short on the rest. It doesn't quite work out when you're not giving any of that to the experiment, which again, the experiment is us. Totally. And again, if you need proof of that, it's all around. For instance, the fact that it started off with just one jab, we only need one. And then it was like, oh, wait, we're not seeing the results that we need to see. So we're going to do 2 jabs. And now again, they're saying we're not seeing the results that we need to be seeing. So we may need a 3rd jab. Well, where do you think they're getting the results from? They're getting results from us. If they're getting results from us, we're the experiment. Like, that's the exact, definition of experiment, guys. Like, hello. And the fact that many places are starting to change wording on things. You know how I'm real big about that wording thing. Like, pay attention to the words because devil's into details, right? Right. So they're trying to change the word from vaccination to inoculation. That's a totally different ballgame now. I'm not even sure how to even come across with that, but that's a totally new ballgame. And it should not be being allowed at all. There should be adequate facilities provided to protect the experimental subject. So again, this could also be like Lamb had said earlier. I believe it was Lamb that had said that he was seeing these like FEMA camps being set up. They could use this kind of as a cover. For that, saying that they're setting up a spot. But that's one way that it could also spin around and bite us, Now, number 8, and this is important. The beginning of number 8, I feel, is one of the most important things. The experiment should be conducted only by scientifically qualified persons. Scientifically qualified people. You know who that isn't? Bill Gates. You know who else that isn't? Google. You know who else that isn't? Any of these doctors or nurses or places giving us the injections. They need to be done by particular people. And like I was saying about New York, with number 1, and they're requiring the papers. He should be being brought up on charges for this, and I feel that it is putting New York people in duress. And you know, I do feel that there's going to be explaining needed there, and that when all of this really starts really hitting the fan, you know, somebody else in here had said that they were already setting up the camps and going door to door. You know, that's duress. That's putting people directly in duress. That's a scary thought, that they're just going to come to your door and be like, well, you're going to take this. No, I'm not. Now, deeper into 8, they also must have the highest degree of skill and care, and that's required through all stages of the experiment of those who conduct or engage in the experiment. So, you know, everyone that is involved has to be the highest skill possible. That's not happening. That's definitely not happening right now. So, oops. I don't know what else to say there. Because it's not. We're definitely not getting, you know, complete scientific data and information. And the information that we are getting, how do we verify? How do we know that these people who say these things are telling us the truth? And why do we just believe off the cuff that they are? Why do we just suddenly go, you know what, I don't really need anything but this total stranger that I don't know's word that says that this did happen or is happening, or should happen, whatever, you know. Then we have number 9, and it starts off with, during the course of the experiment, the human subject should be at liberty to bring the experiment to an end. The human subject should be able to end the experiment. Well, we can't end an experiment that we didn't consent to, ladies and gentlemen. And again, we're the experiment. Believe it, don't believe it, however you want to slice it. We are the experiment. They're telling us this when they're talking about things such as, oh, we need to add another jab. We may need to do this, the results that we're seeing. They're getting the results from us. They're finding out side effects from us. They should already know the majority of these before it is ever released into the public, especially in a sense that it is going to be forced onto the public. Where there is risk, there should be choice. You can't start taking that away. We can't, you know, when it comes down to what are you more afraid of? The constitutional rights that you are about to lose, or COVID? Because that's the position that they're pretty much putting most of us in. Wow, Pam, I think you're lagging like super behind. So, I apologize. I think maybe a lot of people are lagging behind at where I am because I'm just now seeing that you're saying that she's gone, and that's been like so forever ago. Yeah, she said that she lost signal. I think she's still waiting to get signal back. I'm not sure. Yeah, I know. She was sounding like a robot. I said the same thing back then. But that was like, again, like really a long time ago. So I really think you're like really laggy behind you. Just as an FYI. Now also deeper into number 9. We've already allowed them to do things. So, we do want to point that out. So they do think that they're getting away with this because we've already allowed a lot of it. And digging deeper into this, if he, meaning the subject or experiment, has reached the physical or mental state where continuation of the experiment seemed to him to be impossible. Again, again, no, do you see how many of these laws they are breaking? And yet we're allowing it. And each phase of this that we allow is a little bit further into this they go, and a little harder that they push, and a little bit more that they take. And remember, once they take it, they don't ever give it back. It's not like, oh, we're going to take it for a little while and then we're going to bring it back to you. They don't do that. They really don't. And we've been saying that for a really long time, and nobody wanted to believe us when they started shutting this down a year ago. And yeah, we're open for the majority, but they're still slowly strangling us off. I mean, look at gas prices, guys. Gas prices are absolutely absurd. Through the roof. We haven't seen gas prices like these in quite a while. And why? Why all of a sudden do they have to go up like this? I'm not pointing fingers. I'm not saying anything. Just think about it, and you'll know. Other people said that gas prices couldn't be brought down, and then they were, and then they were all made to be liars, and then all of a sudden, they're going back up, and it's because we want to close down our own stuff and not supply ourselves and buy from other places. And why? Why would we do that? Why would we not supply ourselves? I mean, it just makes sense. Oh, yay. Hi, Scarlett. Welcome back.
Hi, Red. I'm back.
Yay.
I finally have signal again, though. I think it's like the clouds or the smoke or something. I don't know.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So what are we talking about?
We're still on Nuremberg.
What number are we on?
We are on 9 now.
Okay.
So, and to catch you up, 9 is, during the course of the experiment, the human subject should be at liberty to bring the experiment to an end.
Right.
If he has reached the physical or mental state where continuation of the experiment seems to him to be impossible.
Well, people are saying, like, I took my first one. I don't feel good. I got so sick, I don't know how I'm going to take my second one. For people like that, they should be able to opt out and say no.
Right. Now, here's my thing, and I was pointing this out. For those that don't believe we're the experiment, just think at the words that they say, because again, devil's into details, that's like my little thing. Pay attention because the devil's into details. So when they're saying stuff to you like, hey, it's one shot and we're all protected, and then they're like, oh, you know what, we're not seeing the results that we should be, so we're gonna bring it up to 2 jabs. And now we've been giving out 2 jabs. Now they're like, you know what, we're not seeing the results that we should be, so we're thinking about doing a 3rd jab, kind of tossing around, haven't 100% decided. Where do you think they're getting the results from? They're getting the results from us. If they're getting the results from us, we are the experiment. Put your pieces together, ladies and gentlemen. That is the very definition of being the experiment.
And they keep saying themselves, real world trials,
which
not
is
clinical trial, real world trial.
Which is completely against the law.
Well, and everything, all the information we're getting is like 6 months old. You know, all these studies, they're like, oh, we found this out last year. Well, why didn't you say it then?
Right.
Like, you could have told us like 4 months after you were done, not a year and a half later.
And then 10, which is the last one, right?
Right.
During the course of the experiment, the scientist in charge. Now, first of all, right there, let's stop. Who the fuck is that?
You ain't never lied. Because there's people all around in every country that have their own version.
Right. So which one do we need to speak to on this?
Right. Where's the manager? We're gonna be Karens up in here. Where's the manager?
Right. We need the scientific manager, y'all. Okay. In charge must be prepared to terminate the experiment at any stage if he has probable cause to believe in the exercise of the good faith, superior skill, and careful judgment required of him. Oh, Lord.
Now they done broke that.
Fauci is not that.
Mm-hmm. That and then some.
Okay. Fauci is not that. Nope. No ma'am, no ham, no turkey, no spam. No.
You're right. No ma'am, no ham.
Okay, so required of him that a continuation. I don't know. That a continuation of the experiment is likely to result in injury, disability, or death to the experimental subject. What? If it's going to cause any of those things, you're supposed to end the experiment. Excuse me? I would like to talk to the scientist in charge, please. Could the scientist in charge please stand up? Please stand up. Please stand up. I would like to report a crime. There is injury, there is death. It is happening because of these injections, inoculations, like we had said earlier when you weren't here, Scarlett. Like they've a lot of people are changing the terminology and going off of the word vaccine and calling it inoculations now. So, you know, I'm gonna need them to you know, point me in the right direction.
You know they can't do that. That would be too much like right.
Right.
So that can't happen. Unfortunately.
Now, for those that need to know, trials of war criminals before the Nuremberg military tribunals under Control Council Law number 10, volume 2, pages 181 to 182, Washington, D.C., U.S. Government Printing Office, 1949. Anybody who wants to look these up. So you can't be giving me no BS that this stuff don't exist.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Lee. Lee
Yeah.
said that to her for she lost the other time.
Because here's the thing, Lee, I don't want anybody to be confused. We are not by at all saying that COVID does not exist. What we are saying is that it's a loaded, it's Russian roulette with
Yeah, it's
needles.
more complicated than just, cut and dry.
Right.
Because not
It's
everybody's one size fits all.
because I don't believe that every single inoculation is poisoned.
I do, but that's me.
I don't think that they are doing it that way because then we have too many. So, it's kind of spread out. There's going to be a couple in every batch.
Just in general, how they're made, though, the side effects that
in
cause.
general, they're poison, but I mean like the direct kind of poison that we're talking about.
Right.
The true experimental part of this, the RNA.
Right.
And again, I know I keep beating this like a dead horse, and I'm gonna ride this pony all the way home. When they're saying, oh, we're not seeing the results that we want, so we're gonna up another jab. Oh, we're still not seeing. We are the results. We're where they're getting the results.
The breakthrough cases.
If they're getting the results from us, guess what? We're the experiment.
True.
They can't take results from something that isn't part of the experiment because guess what? If they did that, how does it fit into the labs? How do they take that and put it in there? See, the whole idea of doing an experiment is that it is a controlled environment. And it is performed in a controlled environment so that other scientists can repeat the same thing and get the same results. We're not there, people. We're not there. Why? Because we're the experiment. We are the guinea pigs. And I did not give consent. Now, one of the things it says is that if you feel that you are under duress, duress can be caused by a lot of things. I do feel that this is a societal duress. I don't feel that it is just an individual duress. And thus, I do feel that we are getting to that point where hanging that flag upside down to show duress could just be part of that saving thing that you might want to do just to cover your own ass when CDC comes knocking. If that flag's hanging upside down at your gate with a no trespassing sign, I think that kind of states it all. Could be wrong, but I would think. CDC, being a government agent, should recognize that flag upside down duress symbolism. And know that there are people that are going to come after you. And they are going to freaking want justice. for what's being done. And the fact that you're just doing your job is not going to cover it, guys. It's not. Every doctor, every nurse, everybody that is going to be a part of this, you too can be brought up on charges and put on Nuremberg trials. And I don't know if you guys are prepared for that. Do you know that when they did this, there was hold on, I believe it was over 100. Give me just a second, because I actually really no, whatever this is that popped up on my phone. Not digging it. Okay. Okay, no. That was not it. Okay. No, I'm not going to comply like that. I shouldn't have to comply like that to be an everyday average American law-abiding citizen. That's bullshit. I'm not going to comply in any way anymore. You have had my compliance.
Yeah, I went to the fall festival up here yesterday, and there were people everywhere. Nobody had a mask up. Nobody's wearing a mask up here ever. They did for a little bit. Maybe to Walmart or here or there, but honestly, for the most part, most people, no.
My mother is an RN and she refuses this. Yeah, now she will point out, and I will just say it because it's her thing. She is not an anti-vaxxer. She believes in vaccinations across the board. We argue about this all the time. She does not want to believe that her grandson is vaccine injured. We have these arguments all the time. And she is a 100% across the board vaccinate. We argue about it all the time, but she also can't argue the fact that her grandkids, as she says all the time, are like compared to her friends' grandkids, because now she's older, so her friends all have grandkids too, and like my mom said, the grandkids of her friends don't seem to be quite as healthy as her grandkids. Like their grandkids are always in the hospital, always at the doctor's office, always sick, always getting medications in and out of school. My kids aren't like that. Her grandkids aren't like that. And not calling out anybody or saying anything, but my grandmother has or my mother, I'm sorry, has been blessed to be a grandmother from a second child, and they do the vaccines, and he's been super sick.
Yep.
Super sick. Since birth. I mean, started having seizures almost right away after birth.
And I wonder if, since you say that, I wonder if, like, encephalopathy is under Hep B. Let's see.
You mean seizures?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Nervous system disorder. Blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Blah, 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 blah.
Now, as I was saying, my mom, absolutely not an anti-vaxxer, totally flat out refuses to take this particular jab. She says she does not believe that there has been enough testing or knowledge for this to give consent for it. She's not going to give consent for it. If she is forced to give,
seizures right here, bro. Seizures. Right here.
See?
That's Hep B, and that's on the first day of life. So that's in the insert for Hep B, because I have this whole book, y'all. It's ginormous. I should show y'all the book. actually. I'll show you.
Lee, even the amount of vaccines given in the when my kids were first born 14 and 16 years ago compared to what we're doing now is outrageous. I thought there was a lot when my kids were little.
Okay, hold on. Get this going.
Dude, you know your camera's on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm trying to get it to go this way. See, so here's Hep B. I'm gonna go Hep B. And this book is thick as hell, y'all. Like this book's no joke. I'm gonna go to Hendrix, which is that one. But here, nervous system disorder. Encephalitis, encephalopathy, anaphylactoid reaction, anaphylaxis, multiple sclerosis, neuritis, neuropathy, paresthesia, Guillain-Barré, Bell's palsy, optic neuritis, paralysis, paresis, seizures, syncope, transverse. My life.
Yeah.
So, all of which can cause seizures.
So, the Nuremberg trials, y'all. Now this Nuremberg courts was crimes against the crimes charged before the Nuremberg courts for this was crimes against peace, war crimes, crimes against humanity, and conspiracy to commit any of the foregoing crimes. Okay. 199 defendants were tried at Nuremberg. Want to know how many they convicted out of that?
I believe it wasn't that many.
You would be incorrect.
Was it all of them?
161 were convicted.
That's not bad.
37 were sentenced to death.
Good.
Including 12 of those tried by the IMT. Defendants generally acknowledged that the crimes they were accused of occurred, but they denied that they were responsible as they were following orders from a higher authority.
Bullshit.
That was what they claimed in court, which we knew. Hundreds of these people, before they could be tried, ran away. Guess where they went to? Guess. Take a guess.
Argentina.
Nope.
The U.S.
Yep.
That was my second guess.
So, this begs to differ. Where are they now?
Some have stayed here.
Where is their bloodlines? Have they passed their stuff on in their bloodlines?
True. That's a good point.
You know, are they raising generation after generation of these?
That's true.
Adolf Eichmann helped carry out the plan for the deportation of millions of Jews and was brought to trial in Israel.
Interesting.
The testimony of hundreds of witnesses, many of them survivors, was followed all over the world Ekman was found guilty and executed in 1962.
1962.
1962.
What took so long? It was
Finding his
1940.
ass.
It was like 1946. Nuremberg or 1947 or something. Like, why it take till 1962? Look.
Finding his ass.
Oh, yeah. I forgot you did.
But when they finally found his ass, they killed him.
Right.
They was like, no, we don't care what you've done.
Which, they don't really do that no more either. But I think that we should. Like, we should bring that back. Just for this. Bring it back.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I hate to be like that, but there needs to be like some real punishment with repercussions.
Right.
Not just some you go to jail and then everybody forget about you bullshit.
Right. You ain't lying. You ain't lying. No, not Switzerland. It was America, Pam.
Oh, you went robot, right?
No. Am I robot now?
You are a robot.
Oh. What?
I know, it's so weird how it does it. There's no rhyme or reason, it just starts.
Did that fix it?
Did you real quick?